Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we are learning how to paint these two beautiful paintings for Valentine's Day. These can be in the form of cards or they can be paintings. I've just painted them on regular 8x8 watercolor paper, but if you want you can use cards that are already folded in half, which look like this, and you can apply the exact same concept that I teach in this class in your cards, okay? So keep watching, don't forget to subscribe for more, and I really hope you enjoy this class. So for today's Valentine's tutorial, I'm using a few different supplies. I'll be using a bunch of different paints, which are right here. They are all from Art Philosophy, and I do have a discount code in case any of you are interested in any of the supplies I'm using today. So you could use the code ARTBYBIANCA 15% and use it at checkout on artphilosophy.com. The palettes I'm mostly working with today are Complexion. The Classics, of course, is my absolute favorite palette from them because it has all the basics that you need, and it even includes this beautiful pink that I'm absolutely so obsessed with. This pink, and it's like a neon pink. It looks like this, and as you can see, I have been using this for a long time, so you know it's almost time to replace it. So that's it, Classics, and then we have the Tropicals palette. Okay, and then for the paper, I'm using their watercolor pad in size 8x8 inches, so you could also get this 15% off with my code. Don't forget the code is ARTBYBIANCA 15%, so you have to use the percentage symbol in that. If you don't use it, it's not going to work and your discount will not be applied, okay? So just don't forget that. So that's it for paints, that's it for paper. I've got some papers that I've taken out of the pad here, so I'll be using those directly today. And then of course I always have some rough paper on the side where I do some little tests and test out my colors. So I do recommend, if you're following along today and doing this tutorial with me, have a bunch of rough paper next to you. So it doesn't have to be the best quality paper. If you don't want to waste paper, you can always, you know, use some of the brands that you don't like necessarily, that you don't want to waste. So that's usually what I do. So I'm keeping that on the side. And then of course for the brushes. So the brushes, I am using King Art brushes only. And I also have a discount code for those. So if you're interested, the code is ARTBYBIANCA. That's it, just ARTBYBIANCA. ARTBYBIANCA. Okay, that's the code. And in terms of sizes, so let me get into that. So I'm using the premium size 14 round, okay? So this is great for creating flowers, large petals, all sorts of things. And then I have this smaller brush for more details, which is the premium size 6 max round. Okay, so make sure if you're ordering this, you want the max round. It has a finer point and it's longer than the just round brush. Okay, so these are the two I'm using today. And so let's get started. So for today, I have all these paints, everything that we went through, and then I've got some water here that I'll be using, and of course some paper towel. I always like to clean my brush as I'm doing this, you know, to get rid of any excess colors that I'm not using. So let's get started with our first painting. We will just be creating a bunch of adorable hearts for Valentine's. So I'll be using all these colors here, and I'll be using my smaller brush. So what I'd like you to do to start is just pre-wet all your colors. So let's do that now. I'm just adding some water into all my pans. So that's an orange color, then I've got a red here. This is from the Classics. I don't remember, you know, which pan comes from where, because when I paint, I usually just grab as I go. So that's why I showed you the palettes, some of the palettes that I like to use at the beginning, and these come from, mostly from those. This one, for example, is from the Complexions palette. So it's like a light nude. I'll just try it here to show you. It's a really nice color. And then of course I have this nice neon pink from my Classics palette. So when I pre-wet them, especially when there's not much paint left, I usually like to add extra water. So you see what I'm doing? I'm going into my water. I've got like these drips, and I'm adding the drips inside the palette, and then just mixing it up. I'm doing this so I have a little puddle of paint that will be ready to be used once I get started with the painting. Okay, for this one I am not using the greens, so I'm just going to put those aside. And let's get started. First, practice. So I always like to practice before getting into the final painting. So for this, I recommend getting a piece of rough paper so we could do some practices. I'm just going to grab this little piece of scrap paper that I have hanging around, and let me just show you how to do this. It's super easy. So first off, if you want, you can always draw out your hearts if it makes it easier for you, okay? So you can always grab a pencil and draw out these hearts. You want the hearts to kind of be playful and go overlap each other, because if they overlap each other, you'll get some really nice bleeds. Now the problem with sketching is that once you paint on top of this, you will see all the pencil lines, and you don't want that. Sorry about that. You don't want to see these pencil lines. So that's why I do recommend going right in with your paintbrush. Do not sketch beforehand, and that is why I am sketching only now, because we're doing an exercise. So I just want you to be comfortable drawing these hearts at first. Once you're comfortable, on the second exercise, we will do this without sketching. So for now, just sketch 3 hearts like I did, and let me show you how to fill them in. Okay, so I filled this one in. If you pass your lines, don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. We're just practicing. And it's also fun when your hearts are not perfect, at least in my opinion. Okay, next thing you want to do, we are switching colors and we want them to bleed together. So the way to do this is to make sure your paint is still wet. Can you see this is wet? It's shining in the light, so it's still damp. Clean your brush. Now go into your red. Sorry, go into the next heart and add some water for now. We're just adding water. And you see what happens? Once I touch it to the heart before, the color bleeds in. How gorgeous is that? So at this stage, we could either add a different color in here or keep it as is. Okay, let's add some pink just for fun. This is my neon pink that I was telling you about, which I love. So I just put a little dot in there, that's all. Let me show you on the side here what I did. I just basically went like that, that's it, and then I let it bleed in, okay? So practice that. Okay, and finally our last heart. So let's try this a different way. Now let's go directly into our pigment. Grab some of that pink. We can test it out just to see. Do you see what it looks like? So it's a light pink. And then you just want to fill this whole heart with that pink. And always make sure you see how the sketch was overlapped. You want to follow that sketch. And look at that. Look how the colors bleed together. You can also tilt your painting in different directions so that the colors bleed wherever you want. So if I tilt them to the right like I'm doing, the colors will go to the right. If I do it to the left, the colors will flow to the left. Okay, so that's up to you. You can see this is going to make some really cute, designs. So right now we only have 3. Now let's practice the same thing without drawing, okay? So I want you to have your paper here. We're going to do the same type of 3 hearts. They don't have to be exactly the same. But let's just practice the same concept now. No sketch. So grab your orange. And first heart should look something like this. You see how my heart is not perfect? It doesn't have to be. You want this to be a fun painting. So we're not looking for perfection. We're just looking for something fun and playful for Valentine's. Okay, heart number 1 done. Next, we can go in with our pink, and we can start somewhere here. First half of my heart is here, and then I'm just going to bring that in to that. Did you see what I did? I just pulled it in, go back into my pink, and fill this up. Okay, fix it if you need to. If the shape looks funny, you can always just go back and fix your shape. And then lastly, our light pink heart. Same thing, I usually start from the outside so that my colors don't bleed like crazy at first, but you can start on this side too, it's up to you. Okay, there's no right or wrong way of doing this. And then fill this in. Whoop, you see, once I touch it, they start to bleed together. And this is kind of crooked heart, so I'm just gonna fix that a little bit. There we go. So do you see what we've done? Way cuter without the sketch, right? So now that you know how to do this, we are basically going to fill this whole paper with all these lovely hearts going in different directions, different sizes, and it's just going to be the cutest thing ever. You can do this as a card if you want. You could just do this as a painting and offer it to someone as a gift. It's totally up to you. Okay, I've dirtied my paper already. I'm very good at making a mess. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to start with the orange once again. Why not? And let's start with one nice big heart here. And you see what I'm doing? I'm just filling this in with a lot of water. Let's fix that little point here. I prefer when they're pointy. And you see how I fix the shape as I go. So you can do this too as you go. Just play around. You have time. As long as it's still wet, you can do these things. Okay, heart number 1 looks really good. Now I'm going to go with my pink. I'm going the same order as our practice sheet, just for now. But then I'll be mixing it up, you'll see as I go. So just follow along. Right now we're doing the bright pink. So this is Opera Rose. This one is from the Classics palette. I obviously know this color because it's my favorite one from the palette. And you see what I do once I get here? I just kind of mix them. Sometimes I mix them myself. If they don't bleed naturally by themselves, I'll usually go in with my brush and kind of allow them to mix more easily. Okay, I always clean my brush in between hearts, so I've just cleaned my brush off. And now back to my light pink. And let's do a cute light one like this. Okay, I've got my outline, and then I'm just filling this in. Okay, look how cute this is so far, right? So you want to keep doing this. You don't want to wait for this to dry. If this dries, the colors won't bleed anymore. So you want to just keep going. I'm going into my red now. Same thing. Fill it up. Okay, and we're going to switch colors. We're going to play around. So maybe I'll go back to my pink now and do another one. You could also play with the amount of pigment you use. So you can use less pigment to have it more transparent, or more pigment to have it more opaque, like you see here. The red is very, very vibrant. I've hardly used any water there. But let me show you an example where I use the same red. So it's the same red as here now. I'm just going to put less pigment. So you see how now I've got a lot of pigment right here? I'm just going to clean off my brush a little bit right here, and look at that. Look how it's way more transparent now. And just bring this into my pink heart and push it. You see how I'm pushing it into the other heart? Okay, so how cool is that? You see how this one's way more transparent now? It's the same red though. Okay, let's add another small orange one here. We still have space. So that's what you're going to do for this whole painting. You're just going to add heart over heart over heart, and you're going to get a really adorable painting at the end. Okay, there we go. And let's keep going. We're going all the way down. So we're doing these in rows. So we can do a small one here. And of course, I do want them to touch each other, so try and get that to touch. Even if it's no longer wet and doesn't flow, it's okay. You can always just kind of make it flow yourself. You see how I'm pulling the color into the pink heart? Okay, and keep going. This one's going to be smaller, so it's not going to touch this one. They don't all have to, but I'd say most should. It'll just give you a cuter look. Okay, I'm going to my red. And back to my orange. And now pink. So just keep going. You could follow along with the colors I'm using, or you can use the colors that you like. It's up to you. So if you hear me coughing, it's because I just got over COVID. And it wasn't that bad for me, I'm lucky. I'm also vaccinated, so maybe that helped. But it was just like a regular cold for me. I'm still coughing a little bit. But hopefully it should be done soon. Also, my voice does sound a little bit scratchy, so I'm really sorry about that. Okay, and last heart, I don't want orange again. I don't like doing that, like orange. So I'm gonna go for a light pink again. I really like that light pink. So I'm just gonna use it once more. Let's make a small one here. And look how cute this is turning, right? So we just keep on going. We can go this way also. It doesn't have to be from left to right, you decide. And just try and go a little bit faster now. Okay, fill up those hearts a little bit faster. You don't want this to take too long, right? It should be a pretty quick and fun painting. So, very playful. Remember, if it gets dry, just go back into your water, grab that water and add it. And whenever I have little like mistakes, like you see there, I just usually go back in and paint on top of them. So I'm gonna hide that, don't worry about it. You could do the same. If you have a little mark on your painting, you could always just fill it in with something on top of it. So you could put another heart there, for example. Love this pink though, look at it, it's so bright. And you see how my brush is dry, right? So I just go back into my water, grab a bunch of water. You don't necessarily need more pigment. If you want it to be more transparent, you need more water. So grab that water and just keep going. Okay, back to my red. And you'll notice if you go really fast, your bleeds become nicer. You see how they're bleeding into each other? So this takes practice. You may have to do this a few times. It may not work out the first time, but just keep practicing. You can always rewatch this video and do it again, okay? Okay, I'm going to start with this orange one because I do want to get rid of it. And let's put some orange back. You want to get rid of the orange, so you just add orange. And now it's like the mistake was never even there. Isn't that cool? Okay, light pink now. Red. And we're almost done. Look how cute this is looking. I might put half a heart here because I don't really like that empty space. So if you've got a little empty space, just add. That's it. It's like it was cut off. And actually this one, I do want it to be longer. So you can always extend, you can always make these bigger as you go. Now let's go back to the nude or the light pink, whatever you want to call it. I'd say it's more of a light pink. Okay, and then last one, let's do orange once more. And this one should be big. Should go like this. Okay, and then if you've got some little areas here, you can always add. So let's add half a heart here, just because I like when the whole sheet is full. And unfortunately, I didn't think about this before, but it's okay. You can always go back in here and then look how I mix it, and it's like they're bleeding together once again. That's because I'm adding water in the previous heart. So same thing down here. We can add another half right here. And make this one wet again. So I'm adding water, that's it. And then kind of blending these two together. I could even add a little bit more red just so they really flow. And you see how easy it is. It is a matter of practice though. I've been doing this for a long time, so it's probably easier for me than it is for you. But that's because of practice. So practice, practice. They don't say it for nothing. Okay, and I don't like what's going on here, so I'm going to wet the one before. There we go. And now they're bleeding together a little bit more. Okay, and one more little area right here that I just want to fix. I'm just going to add another small one right here. And this time keep it simple. I'm just using a bit of the nude, and that's it. Okay, let me just remove a bit of red here. I find it's too dark. And fix. So I always like to go over what I've done and kind of fix up whatever needs fixing. If it needs fixing, usually I just leave it as is. But right now I just want a little more blending here. Just this heart is bothering me, so I'm just gonna fix it up a little. And that looks way better already. Okay, and there's your first painting. How adorable is this, right? So you can make this into a card. You could give it like this to a friend, and it's just super cute. So we're gonna move on to the second card now, or second painting. And I'm just going to put this aside for now. Let it dry, and let's get started with the second one. Okay, for this one, you just want to draw out a cute little heart in the center of your paper. Okay, freehand, or you can print out a heart if you want from the internet and put it behind and put it against a window. You can also do that. So for this painting, I like to sketch my heart pretty light because I don't want the pencil line to show afterwards. What we're going to do now is fill in all the sides. So you can either use masking fluid to fill up this heart. What masking fluid does is that you can paint over it, and then once the painting is fully dry, you can wipe away or scrub it, I don't know what to call it, but you can just kind of go like this with your hands and the masking fluid will peel off by itself, okay? So the masking fluid I have is this one. I'm not sure if Art Philosophy still has it, but you can use this, or you could get other ones at your local art store. It really depends on what's available to you and what you like. And of course, my discount code will work for this as well. So all the products on their website, you get 15% off, okay? Because I know a lot of you probably don't have masking fluid, I'm gonna do this without the masking fluid, okay? So it might be a little more tricky, but we are going to do this together, so don't be worried or scared. Now, what are we painting? Let's paint some fun florals. These are our colors for this class. And by class, I mean for this painting, since it's a second painting. I'm used to doing one painting per class, so to me this is almost like a second class. It's a 2-in-1 YouTube video. So, I'm going to use the pink, and actually no orange for this one, so set that aside. You just want your pink and the light pink also. So you want your bright pink, your red, and your 2 greens, okay? Make sure your brush is clean. So this is clean. And for my flowers, we're gonna make these kind of look like flowers from a distance, but they may not. So I just want you to use this small brush to make a stroke. You see what I'm doing? I'm using the belly of the brush and just pulling upwards. It's not perfect. I don't want it to be perfect. I want it to be kind of loose and flowy like this. So just practice this stroke. And we're basically going to do this throughout the painting to get some nice flower looking, effect, to get an effect that looks like that. But it's not necessarily a flower, right? Because flowers don't look like this usually. But you'll see, once the painting's done, it'll look really, really nice. So practice this movement, do it different ways, play with the angle of your brush. I know most of you are probably right-handed, so practice, this way, practice that way, and of course this is really hard for me because I'm left-handed. So play around with it on your practice sheet, of course. And for the greens will probably have stems. So stems are just little lines that go like this, and each little stem will have a leaf attached to it. So the leaf will have the same movement. Do you see that? And you could also go the other way. So you could start from the top and go down. So practice that movement with your light green. And we'll also be doing that with the dark green. So dark green, same thing. So stem, you see how I pull it down? And they're all going to be different. Every single leaf is going to look different. That's part of the beauty. You can also mix up both your colors, so you can put some dark green inside the light green. So right now I just want you to practice these movements on your sheet of rough paper. And of course, if you have any questions while doing this, you can always ask me in the comment section under this video, and I'll try my best to answer you. Also, if you like these classes, don't forget that I do teach classes on Zoom every single week. Those are paid classes, of course. They're a little bit more detailed and more complex, I would say. But I do hold my students' hand throughout these classes and explain everything in detail, and we do the exercises together, so we repeat them. If the students have any questions, I usually just go back to my rough paper and do it over again and explain until everyone understands. So I'd say the success rate of my classes is probably close to like 99%. People are usually very happy with the paintings that they've done in my classes because I think that I explain them very clearly, and they come out learning a lot of new techniques that they didn't know about before, And I also sell recordings, so you can go over the recordings and keep on practicing and improving. So I've noticed my students grow like crazy, especially the ones who have been joining my classes for over a year now, since I've been doing these for over a year. And you know, it's really interesting and cool to see how they've progressed so much and how they've grown as artists from taking these classes with me. So if you are interested, there's a link in the description under this video. You can click there, you can order the recordings of any of my older classes, which you could find on Instagram. Yes, you can order the recordings there, and I have weekly live classes on Zoom, which are $35. Okay, so if you have any questions about the upcoming classes, you can also give me your email in the comment section down below, and I will send you an email with all the info. So back to the painting. So what we want to do is not fill this area. If you don't have masking fluid, don't worry, you don't need it necessarily. It just makes life easier. For now, we are practicing the stroke that we've done here, and I just want you to follow the shape of the heart like it were a clock. Okay, and make your movements, make your strokes follow this shape. Okay, you see how fast I'm doing this? So sometimes I do 2 strokes. When I did the exercise, I did 1, but sometimes I do 2. It depends how much color I want. Okay, I want you to do the exact same thing with the red. And I want you to put these all over the place. This is going to be full of, I want to call them buds, I guess, budded flowers, okay? The only challenge that I have for you is do not pass this line. You don't want to pass that line, or you might, you know, mess up the effect that we're looking for, which is the full heart in the center. You can also see now I've mixed both the red and the pink, and it creates this really lovely shade. So just keep adding, keep adding these cute little strokes. And you can go as wide as you want. You could fill up the whole paper if you want. For this painting, I'm just going to stop around here. I think this is good. You see I'm following the shape of the heart. Okay, and now details. So our details are mostly done with our greens. So all the filler leaves and everything. So we're still using the same brush. And you see what I'm doing? I'm adding these strokes. I'm doing it very quickly. Lots of little fun strokes. Adding them in the white sections. Okay, so just do this. Where you have white, just add these little leaves. Okay, and mix it up. So play with the other green also. You want to mix these colors. You want lots of different colors in here. Okay, there's more leaves. Okay, and you see as I get closer to the heart shape, I'm being way more delicate with it, because I want this to stay clean in here. So you can start adding details around the heart, because you do want the heart to stand out after all. Okay, we can also start adding our stems. So the stems can also be attached to the flowers. I didn't mention that here, but feel free to add stems everywhere. It's just going to give more detail to your painting and make it come to life. Okay, play around mixing the colors. Okay, and you could see I'm going back in and adding some tiny little leaves. So I'm doing the same stroke, but just smaller. You see, this is my practice sheet. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. Same thing, but you want to make some of these smaller. When you have less space, they should be getting smaller because you want to fill up the white area. You want this to be really full of colors and detail. So just keep following, keep adding those little strokes. Be mindful of the way you hold your brush and how you turn it, because that will alter your strokes. You don't want every single stroke to be exactly the same, otherwise this will just look like any manufactured card, right? And we don't want that. We want it to be an original hand-painted card. So keep that in mind when you are painting. Okay, you could see as I add more detail to the pencil outline, the heart is starting to pop out and really show much more. So you want to just keep doing that, especially around the heart area, just to make it stand out as much as possible. And at this stage, I like to go back into my pinks and my red and do the exact same thing. I'm filling in the little areas here with some other colors. By the way, if you do create this painting or the other one, this one here, feel free to post them. I have a Facebook group. The Facebook group is called Watercolor Classes for Beginners with Bianca Rosen. So feel free to join the group and feel free to share what you've done, because we would love to see, you know, it's nice to share with all the students and to show us what you've done. And also if you have questions on the classes, I'm available. It's the best way to reach me, I would say, is through the Facebook group. You can also reach me on Instagram, though. I'd say I'm pretty active there. So if ever you have any questions, you can also DM me and I will get back to you. Okay, it may not be right away, but I will do my best to get back to you if you have any questions. Okay, keep adding your details. This is looking good. I'm happy with it. And then I passed my line a little bit. You see that? But it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Just kind of camouflage it by adding more little dots. More little dots. You see how they're getting smaller and smaller? So I'm filling in some of this white space that I've got around. And it's looking good. So I think I'm going to stop here. You should have something that looks kind of like this, and it should be pretty balanced on both sides. So I can see that this area looks a little bit heavy, so I'm actually going to add a few more larger flowers. Do you see how I've balanced it out just by doing that? So you can just add a few more. Just balance it out. Add some smaller, some bigger ones. You can play with the colors too. Okay, that looks good, and then maybe a few here. Okay, and there is your second painting for Valentine's Day. So I really hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. Here are the two paintings we've done. Don't forget the discount codes if you want to use any of these supplies. And I do realize that I never ended up using this brush. So sometimes as I paint, I realize I actually don't need a certain brush. So this was a small surface, so I only really needed that small brush. Which is here in my water. But if ever you want to do this on a larger sheet of paper, then I do recommend this brush. You will need a bigger brush to make bigger hearts, okay? Hope this helped you and that you enjoyed it, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more classes like this. If you have any requests, feel free to let me know in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to check out my private Zoom classes, which are awesome. My students return weekly, and I have approximately 2 per week. They're at 7 p.m. on Thursday evenings and on Sunday evenings. And I teach all sorts of things, classes like we have here, except you're live with me, so you can ask me questions. You know, I go more in detail on the brush strokes, so I kind of went over it a little bit quickly for this one. But in my classes, I really go into detail and explain everything, you know, a lot more. And these classes are great for all levels. If you're a beginner or if you're an intermediate student, this will be perfect for you. Even advanced students join my classes sometimes and they create awesome stuff. They always learn new techniques. And of course, every artist has, their own style. So some advanced students come to me because they want to learn more about my style. So that's really what I like to focus on in those private Zoom classes. And of course, the recordings are always available. If you miss them, you can purchase those on my Linktree page, which is linked right here. It's Linktree/Art by Bianca, and you can order any of my recordings there. I have so many classes. I have classes on sunflowers, poppies. I have a beautiful hummingbird. I have so many classes. So for now, just check it out. Send me a message if you want to see any pictures of any of my previous classes. And I will be more than happy to show you some of those. In fact, I have a few right here next to me. So I'm just going to show you. This is one of my classes. It was winter trees, and then I have another one on the northern lights. So these were Zoom classes. These are not on YouTube, and they are classes that are available for purchase. So you can always ask me about these classes. And I look forward to meeting you and hopefully painting with you soon. See you later.